It's 11 o'clock and time for Ask Pastor Deb with Pastor Deborah Watlington House here on WOSDRadio.com. Let her story about recovery inspire you. And of course, you're welcome to ask questions from this woman of God. And now it's time to Ask Pastor Deb.
Good morning and welcome to Ask Pastor Deb. I am Pastor Deborah Watlington House, your host for the hour. This show provides encouragement, insight, and resources for freeing yourselves from the bondages that keep you from the peace and grace of God. On today's show, I will share a word of encouragement from God as we are faced with pandemics called Corona and racism. Today's message title is, When You Know Better, You Do Better. God is awesome and amazing, and I just give Him all the praise and all the glory that is due Him. I honor Him, I thank Him, I love Him, I adore Him because of His awesome power. I love Him because of His grace and mercy. He is my King. He's a healer, deliverer. He is a heart regulator. He is my all in all. God is my everything. Now, today's show title is When You Know Better, You Do Better. Funny thing. Oh, wow. When God gave me this, I was like, oh, I know I got something on that. Because trust me, when I finally figured things out in my life, and once I started to know better, I most certainly started to do better. And so we're going to dive right in today. Before we do that, I do want to send out some shout outs. I want to shout out Al Greer, the owner and CEO of WSD Radio, and his family. And because of the loss of their mother, they are having, they had her services. And I just wanted to give my condolences once again to Al Greer and Chris Greer and all of the family for the loss of Mama Greer. She was very dear to all of us, and we were truly, truly going to miss her. Another shout out to the Howard family, a good friend and church member passed away this week as well. And her name is Valerie A. Howard. She was a wonderful woman of God. As a matter of fact, she was one of his ministers and dutiful servants. And she and her family were a big part of my family. Her best friend is my play sister, and I tell you, I grew up with her husband and his family, and she also will truly be missed. Rest in the arms of Jesus, Valerie A. Howard. So now let's get back into it. The title again is When You Know Better, You Do Better. We are right now in the year 2020. In the month of June. And when I tell you, when God gave me this, it was like, why do I need to talk about knowing better and doing better? And He said, this is the perfect time for it. Because all through the pandemic, God has been sending us reminders of who He is and how much power He actually has and how He is showing us that He is in full control. So no matter what we're going through, no matter what people are telling us, no matter how many battles we're facing, how many things that we're fighting for, how many times we are faced with death that was just unnecessary, we have to remember that all things are for the good of those who are called according to His purpose, okay? According to God's purpose. So everything that we're going through is purposeful, okay? And so, of course, when God said, when you know better, you do better, I immediately started to look for scriptures, okay? And trust me, I found some. But before that, I said, you know what? I think I talked about this before. So I always go to Facebook and I just type in, when you know better, you do better. And of course, on September the 14th, 2014, I had a post that said exactly that. When you know better, you do better. And then I had about, I think it's 4 or 5 pictures or photos, and they were actually sayings just about when you know better, you do better. So the first one said, you'll actually evolve faster when you look to uplift rather than judge those who seem to be struggling in life. What an awesome post. You'll actually evolve faster when you look to uplift rather than judge those who seem to be struggling in life. When you know better, you'll do better. Here's another one. A bad attitude can literally block love, blessings, and destiny from finding you. Don't be the reason you don't succeed. Oh my God. When you know better, you'll do better. Here's one more. Do not shrink your beautiful light to make someone else feel more comfortable. Be who you are without hesitation, and you will inspire others to shine too. When you know better, you'll do better. As you waste your breath complaining about life, someone out there is breathing their last. Appreciate what you have, be thankful, and stop complaining. Live more, complain less. Have more smiles, less stress. Oh, when you know better, you'll do better. Maturity comes when you stop making excuses and start making changes. Oh, when you know better, you'll do better. Nothing you have is because of luck or chance. It's all due to God's grace and favor. When you know better, you'll do better. God is awesome and amazing, and I understand why He told me to talk about when you know better, you do better. Because of the time that we are in right now, these pandemics that we are facing with daily. The coronavirus, COVID-19, is really like taking a turn, and it's coming back. Because, God has given us everything we need to keep our own selves protected. Okay? And hey, that little reminder, when you know better, you do better. We were told to wear masks, and we were told to stay 6 feet apart, and we were told to quarantine ourselves and stay home, stay safe as often as you can. And if you had to go to work, just go to work and come back home. And if you had to get essential groceries or medicines, run out there, get it, and come back on. But by all means, when you're out there, keep your mask on your face and stay 6 feet apart. Social distancing. Oh, we did it for a little while, and we were all, all excited, and some people were overwhelmed, and we closed down the churches, and we closed down the government's buildings, and we closed this down, and we closed that down, and we stopped bowling, and we stopped skating, and we stopped eating out at restaurants because they were all closed down, and we were really doing good. And then it happened. We couldn't take it no more. We couldn't take it anymore. We wanted to do things our way again. We didn't want a new normal. We wanted it to be the way it always was, because that's what we were used to. And God is saying, when you know better, you do better. Let's look at Colossians chapter 3, verses 5 through 8. And I'm going to read it from the Message rendition. And it says, and that means killing off everything connected with that way of death. Sexual promiscuity, impurity, lust, doing whatever you feel like whenever you feel like it. There it is. And grabbing whatever attracts your fancy. Grabbing whatever attracts your fancy. That's a life shaped by things and feelings instead of by God. It's because of this kind of thing that God is about to explode in anger. Ooh! It wasn't long ago that you were doing all that stuff and not knowing any better. But you know better now. So make sure it's all gone for good. bad temper, irritability, meanness, profanity, dirty talk. And that's Colossians chapter 3, verses 5 through 8. There it is, right before our very eyes. God said, God is about to explode in anger. He was letting us know that he was so upset. You know, they were talking to the Colossian church and letting them know that everything you're doing, you're going back to the ways that God has taken you out of. And you already know it because we've been pouring into you. The disciples had been pouring into the churches and teaching them the way. They had been witnesses for Christ. And they were, most of the people were even walking with Jesus when he was performing the miracles and doing the things and when he was showing us the way, because God was so angry at the people that he sent his only begotten son, his one and only son, to come down and give us salvation. He freely gave up his life so that we did not have to do the things that we used to do. We didn't have to live the way that we used to live. God freed us from all of that. And it says right here in his word, but you know better now. So make sure it's all gone. Wanted his people to stop. Again, it says, but you know better now. So make sure it's all gone for good. Bad temper, irritability, meanness, profanity, and dirty talk. This is all the stuff that God told us. When you know better, you got to be able to do better. So what's happening now? What's happening now? It seems like we all forget that we know better. And most of us that are going through the stuff that we're going through are Christians. And most of us really do know better. But it's like we can't handle it. We don't want to do better. We want to do the things that we were doing. And we can't understand why God even put a stop to those things. Why did he send a pandemic called Corona? And then the Corona couldn't even stop us from knowing better and doing better. Then he sent that pandemic of racism to bring it back to light, to let us understand that it is him who is talking to us. It is him who is shining the light on all of this stuff, because he told us that when you know better, you'll do better. Are we afraid to know better? Is that what's going on? Are we afraid to admit that we are doing wrong in this time, in this year of 2020? Can we not see that God is shining the light on the darkness of this world? We are fighting amongst each other. We are fighting with different races. We are fighting with the government. The government is fighting with us. We are making plans that are not matching up to what we should be doing. We are trying to get back into our churches, and God is saying, stay back a little while longer. Can't you pray with me just 1 hour longer in your homes? Why do you have to get back to those buildings, those places where really, the things of God were not taking place? I believe that's why God shut everything down. And I hear you saying that wasn't God. God is a loving God. God is a kind God. God would not do that. That's the devil, the devil, the devil, the devil. That's Satan. That's Satan. That's Satan. Well, guess what? And I keep telling you this over and over again. Satan ain't got no power. Satan can't do nothing. The only thing that Satan can do is what God allows him to do. And I repeat, the only thing Satan can do to us, do to God's people, the people that are called by his name, the people that must humble themselves and pray, the people that must seek his face and turn from their wicked ways, those people. I'm talking about those people. The only way Satan can mess with those people is if God